Great skills again by him. Oh, marvellous goal by Lewis.
Welcome to the Rangers Journey.
Yes, hello, a very, very good evening to one and all joining us here on the Rangers Journal. This is the Ibrox Channel podcast, and yes, it may be the first kind of week of the closed season, but there's still plenty to talk about in the world of Rangers. So to join us tonight to talk Rangers, first of all, we have Graeme. Graeme, how you doing, mate? You well?
Very good, Andrew. Looking forward to the pod tonight, get some Rangers-related content off our chest, and just chat all things Rangers and what's been a relatively positive week, which is good news for the first week of the closed season.
Actually, it is, because I think most of us could not be bothered seeing Rangers after the way that season finished. So I totally agree with you. Normally it takes a bit longer, but yeah, I think we are ready to go now, aren't we? So yeah, good to have you on, Graeme. And last but not least, Cammy, how are you doing, my friend? It's good to see you.
Good. It's amazing how a couple of weeks can change your view, and everything's been forgotten about the negativity around the back end of the season. And I'm a great believer in you can't change what's in the past, and you can only start to look forward. So that's where we're at. And obviously, Lawrence Shankland started it off. I was meant to be on the breaking news on whatever day that was, Sunday or Monday. So I'm looking forward to talking about that and various other issues. But it feels like I've not been on for a while. So I've got, as you'd imagine, I've always got plenty to say.
Oh, you do indeed, Cammy, and your opinion's always welcome here at the Ibrox Channel. And a very warm welcome to everyone in the comments, because it's absolutely boiling outside, so I'm absolutely sweating here. Yes, hello to Rebecca, Lawrence Shanks, True Blue. There we go, Lawrence Shanks already in there as our Jaya, and of course Doug, and the legendary Theo Isaac 9948, who's one of the biggest Rangers fans on that side of the world, I think, because I don't know where he lives, but there we go. So before we start the pod, we are proudly sponsored by the Bluebells Bar in Puerto del Carmen in glorious Lanzarote. So it might be one of the few occasions it's probably a little bit cooler there than it is here at the minute. But yeah, if you are in glorious Lanzarote, do head over to the only Rangers bar in Puerto del Carmen. Family friendly, eat, drink, chill and party. Do all of the above. And yes, they will be showing every Rangers game live. So especially if you're over there in the summer holidays and we are starting our qualification journey for Europe, then you can watch that there. And of course, you can watch the Rangers friendlies. They will have every Rangers game live. So do pop in if you're in Lanzarote and do say hi. So first of all, we are going to start with our opening topic tonight is going to be Andrew Cavenagh. So Andrew Cavenagh was speaking to the Rangers Review, a kind of year review in a sense of what's been going on at Rangers. It has been a year since the 49ers Enterprises took over Rangers, and it was a very interesting interview. So if you've not read that on the Rangers Review, we've kind of got it a little bit summarised here. Andrew Cavenagh was very clear. Rangers' objective was to win the league. We didn't win it. Therefore, the season was a failure. He kind of repeatedly used words like gutted, disappointed, and that it left a terrible taste. And one thing I did like from it, he's not hiding behind the other bits of progress, near misses. He's not using, those kind of phrases, and he's not using transition excuses either. So, Graeme, I don't know if I've had time to read that from the Rangers Review, but what did you make of Andrew Cavanagh's comments?
I think it's a very honest interview. And it gives you a measure of the man. It's about winning or nothing. That's what really summed up. It's all about winning with Rangers. So he gets that. And I think that was really important to get that feeling that he absolutely gets what this football club's all about. And this football club is about winning. Did use the words, didn't enjoy it, wasn't fun. Absolutely. And it was almost like talking to a supporter in terms of that season. It was not good enough. The enjoyment was minimal. But here we are. And he really gets it, which really shone through. Now, what I like about him as well is he knows where he needs to be, I think, after that first 12 months. He knows the fans' expectation. He knows the Scottish football landscape, what we're up against, the challenges. And I think that first year, it's definitely given him a good grounding. Now, it's all right coming out and saying the right things, which he's always been very good at, to be fair. He's very good in front of a camera. For me now, it's about what he does next and how he invests in that squad, how we build in that team to actually get us where we need to be. And let's be honest, it's where the Americans owners need us to be as well, which is certainly not finishing third. Did not expect us to finish third when it was the start of the season. We were all quite looking forward to the season, new investment, new owners, probably not as happy with the managerial choice, and how much they were involved in that, I'm not too sure. But very, very much summarised, they've made mistakes, they've got things not right, and that kind of ownership and accountability that they need to put it right, and it needs to be put right, certain things, over the next few weeks.
Yeah, no, definitely, I do agree with you there, Graeme. Cammy, there was quite an interesting kind of thing that you did say. This club gets into you at the molecular level, and once it's done, you're done. Strong words from Andrew Cavenagh. He's definitely going to be. You do see him down the supporters club sometimes in Philadelphia and in the Big Apple as well. He's with the Big Apple Bears sometimes, buying in the rounds. He's definitely a Rangers man, isn't he?
No, he's definitely bought into what the Rangers support and the Rangers family in general is about. I must admit, I am very much I've heard all these sound bites and words before. Don't call me a cynic, but actions will speak louder than words. And the one thing I will say, we can't be in this position in 12 months' time where there's no... whoever the Rangers captain is has to be lifting shiny things at some point during the 26-27 season. He's a very good speaker. He fronts up. He says all the right things. It's it's actions. It's putting the right people in place, whether that's the manager, whether that's a sporting director, scouts, and the right players on the park. So it always boils down to recruitment. And that's the key aspect with regard to it. But yeah, very good speaker, would be a great politician or a great president, in my opinion. I think he's if he ever fancies going for the White House, I think he'd probably talk a good game, to be honest. But I just want what we do over the next 3 or 4 months is massive. We need to get more right than we did last summer, that's for sure.
Is that a little bit of a fear, Graeme? You look at him, he is somebody that looks like he could be in the White House already. He does look like a presidential candidate, doesn't he? He certainly does talk like a politician. Can that be a little bit of a worry sometimes?
Of course it is. You want to take people in face value. You want to give people the benefit of the doubt, but it's down to him, really. The owners need to stop making mistakes. They need to get, as Cammy said, let's start getting most things right. You accept the odd thing not being quite right, but we've got it flipped around the complete opposite way for us just now. So you build up credibility by what you do, and that's what he needs to kind of take us on in that course. He's got to build up credibility. The 49ers group have got to build up that credibility. It's their reputation at stake because they've come into a club in a really what is usually a two-horse race and finished third. So their credibility probably in the football world isn't great just now. But the only thing to be worried about is the credibility with Rangers football fans. So it's down to Andrew and the rest of the team and what they do. And as Cammy said, over the next couple of months, it's really critical. Need to hit the ground running when the league comes back round in the new season. And that'll be down to the recruitment and how the manager is backed.
Yeah. Very wise words, Graeme. Very wise words. Cammy, success is winning the league and we didn't succeed, period. So that's one of the big quotes I took away. Is this the strongest admission of failure we've had from a Rangers chairman in years, would you say? It's
honest, and I think what Graeme says, it's like a lot of what he said has almost came out of my mouth. Gutted, disappointed, failure, all that sort of stuff. It is what you want to hear, and it is honest. But I do repeat again, it's how you react to that disappointment and how you react to those poor decisions. That's the that's the proof that will be in the pudding with regard to Andrew. I think it's clear that he isn't just here to make money, but for them to make money, they need a successful team on the park, and that's they will stand or fall by the decisions that they make across certainly in the short, medium, and the long term. Because I don't think they're just here for the next couple of years. I think they probably see this as a longer term project, getting into a European Super League stroke Champions League. Rangers in the Europa League or the Conference League is not what the 49ers got involved in. They want us to be part of the Champions League and a wider Champions League, and that's where the money is, and that's where the global audience is, and all that sort of stuff. But I really just hope they're successful, because they clearly, without coining a phrase, they clearly get it. They've clearly bought into it. But what they do is the $1 million question.
That's it. You're always going to be judged on results. Good comment here from CJNI. Andy Cavenagh is a class act, and we are lucky to have him. So he has rubbed off quite well on a lot of the supporters. He does appear genuinely emotionally invested in the club, rather than just treating it as a business asset. We've seen that before. We've seen the year of the Spibs where they couldn't really care about Rangers, and it was all about profit and the bottom line. So it is refreshing to see. However, there's still, the credit is going to run dry, especially finishing third in the league. And they will definitely need to make sure this summer is done properly, and we have recruited right, and we have the right people in charge, because of course Danny Rowe, Graeme, has the full backing. So Andrew Cavenagh publicly backed Danny Rowe, says the board remains fully behind him, and insists the club has clarity on what needs fixed. And the kind of chairman effectively tied himself to Rowe's success. So is backing Rowe the right decision, Graeme, at this stage?
I think there's some doubts in my mind whether backing Rowe is the right thing. Listen, I think Rowe deserves some credit for when he came in. He kind of went about his business very well, made us hard to beat. Didn't think the football was great, but got us grinding out results. And then wind down the clock a few months later, we're all of a sudden just about in the cusp of a title charge. So he's turned around our fortunes from when he came in. Now, there's probably some very similar, scenarios what Clement did when he came in. Team was nowhere near winning the league or challenging for the league. Comes in, settles down the team, settles down the side, puts points on the board, gets us in a winning run. And then when it comes to that critical time, we fell off a cliff. And I just feel that there's a repeat cycle in this team. And I wonder if that's what they meant about the culture changing. I remember the comments Andrew Cavenagh made about the culture in that playing team needs to change. And I think he's spot on. So when I hear these kind of comments coming out from the chairman, you think, right, they actually get what our problems are. We've been through manager after manager after manager since Gerrard's left, and we've not had the success that we should have. So there's something in the big picture that's not right. Our recruitment has never been good enough, probably since winning 55. That's caused us problem. It's set us back. But there's also something else that's fundamentally not been right with our playing squad. So if that is a culture issue, which they seem to have identified that it is, and we're going to make some changes with the type of players they're going to bring in, then I'm really, and if they feel Danny Rowe's the man to lead us forward in the footballing sense and coach on the park, and they're going to give them the tools to do that, then they'll get my backing. But I tell you, we need a really good start to the season, and the fans all need a good start to the season for us to really buy into this, because we've seen how quickly it can turn if we don't, and that's probably the pressure they've now put on themselves. We need to hit the ground running at the start of this new season.
Do agree. Do agree. Now, linking towards that, Cammy, Cavenagh did confirm that more investment is coming, but he also kind of spoke about sustainability and how that matters. So he did say more money will be available. Squad investment remains a priority, and he's recently increased his own financial commitment. But he's also outlined a kind of longer-term vision. Match day income covers the kind of running costs. European money becomes a bonus rather than a necessity. And he wants the player trading model to generate profit. So are you hearing the right things here at the minute, Cammy? Obviously, he's put more money in himself, and the squad investment remains the priority at the minute, and more money will be made available.
It's spending the money wisely. That's the key for me. You can talk 10, 20, 30 million, whatever. It's what you do with it. And it's player identification. Hearts have gained a lot of noise around Tony Bloom and the Jamestown analytics and what have you. However we recruit players and wherever we get them from, they have to be the right fit. Whether you're spending 100,000 on a player or you're spending 20 million on a player, I don't think we'll ever spend 20 million on a player, but you know what I mean with regard to that. It's just about spending the money wisely, and I think for too long, Graeme's spot on. Our recruitment since Gerrard has been abysmal. Gerrard said himself after the 55th title, what is it?
Fix the roof for the sun shining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's stuck in my brain that much that I can't actually remember what it was. But the point of what he said is spot on. That summer we signed John Lundstrom, Junior Bacuna, when we were looking at Joey Veermans and guys like that. It does all come back to recruitment. But it doesn't necessarily just have to be about spending 50 million. If you get the right players that are going to fit what you're looking for, then you give yourself a far better chance.
You're totally right, Cammy. And we were kind of getting Russell Martin used that phrase around it's going to take a long time to turn this. Well, go and look at what happened with Hearts and Motherwell without spending a lot of money in a very short period of time. So, from being gaslit by Russell Martin to looking across and seeing what's happening at Motherwell and Edinburgh, it's about the right recruitment, the right coaching, the right direction of travel and the right vision. It does not need to take tens of millions of pounds to fix this.
See, just quickly, Andrew, you were talking there about the culture and what have you. I watched an interview Gary Neville done with Mikel Arteta, and the Kroenke son that's involved at Arsenal, and they spoke about the culture at Arsenal and how it took so long to basically have everybody, not just the playing and the football staff, everybody that was operational with and part of the group to be on the same page and all singing for the same hymn sheet and all feel as if they're a part of it. This is again where, and again, I don't want to come across as negative or sceptical. What happens is James Tavernier has obviously left, and there's obviously been a breakdown in a relationship there between Danny Rule, and we know we're not going to go over that, but James Tavernier was not the only part of the so-called leadership group. So in order to change the culture, you have to gut what has been there for a number of years, and that is John Souttar, that is Nico Raskin, that is Jack Butland. That's just off the top of my head. The players that have been deemed. John Souttar, I don't think is good enough to be a starting Rangers player, never mind wearing the armband. Not saying he's a bad guy, but is he setting standards within the dressing room on a daily basis? Has Tav had too much influence with regard to what goes on in the training centre? I don't know. This is where the actions and what they do is key. And I know we're going to go on and talk about Jack Butland later, but for me, you have to do it. You have to gut it and start again. if you don't do that, we're having a conversation on the 1st of September. If Jack Butland's still the Rangers' #1 goalkeeper on the 1st of September, and if Nico Raskin is still the number 6 on the 1st of September, then our recruitment during the summer hasn't been good enough. And if John Souttar is still one of the two centre halves, so that's the opportunity of £2 million a year saved. Obviously, Tav leaving. It's about then spending that £2 million the right way to bring in the right types. And the one thing I'm digressing ever so slightly, I always go back to Graeme Souness, 1986. Chris Woods, Terry Butcher, and Graeme Souness in the middle of the park. That's essentially what you need to do now. We do have good footballers within the squad. I genuinely do believe that. But we need some men. You need players that have got the cojones to play for Rangers and they actually understand. And that starts at the back for the goalkeeper, being able to play the ball out properly. A centre half who's going to be a Davy Weir type leader, and somebody in the middle of the park that has got that Granit Xhaka type situation. I think that's the key. If we can bring in those 3 positions this summer, I think we'll be sitting here next year and we'll have had a far better season.
Do you know what? You make some very good points there, and it's points that every Rangers fan makes. We always go on about you need to start from the back. Do it the soonest way. That is the successful way. How do so many, regimes never seem to really get that? You sort out the defence, build from there, which is kind of what Danny Rose started to do when he came in. He kind of stabilised that defence, didn't he, Graeme? We stopped leaking the goals. We weren't scoring so many goals. Then he started to work on the forward areas. And I think it then started to fall apart a little bit at the back because the focus was elsewhere. I don't know if it just upset the rhythm, the chemistry of the team. Is it as simple as just sort out that defence, sort out your goalkeeping situation, and then focus on the rest, and it'll all kind of fall into place?
Is really as simple as that. I think if you get that, let's start with the goalkeeper then in terms of that. I'm got Butland's good shot stopper, but I don't think he's the goalkeeper that we need going forward. So that's a big problem. I also think he puts a bit of pressure on the defence because I think they're not as confident with him behind them. Then you look into those centre-backs in front, and probably the game that sticks out is the game Souttar came on in the Old Firm game, where we looked reasonably solid and settled. He came on at the end, and then it was like a hot potato with the ball. It was like, let's get the ball as far away as possible. We lose possession, and then it just comes into wave after wave of attack. We get the ball back, one ball forward to nobody, and it's waves of attack onto us. So we need that stability. We need that calmness and composure at the back. I don't think it helped us that with a 19-year-old left-back at the start of the season, and that was it in the left-back position. We got relatively inexperience to back up Tav on the right-hand side when the Aarons looked as if he was going to be the one that the kind of hope was pinned on. That didn't quite work out. Sterling, very injury-prone as well. So we've not really had that real stability throughout the season of having those solid centre-backs in place and really standout first-choice full-backs. So it was really, inconsistent. We couldn't get a bit of a rhythm. And we lost some terrible goals. It's probably one of the worst seasons I can remember for some of the goals we've lost. And we've always lost pretty poor goals when you look at our defending over the years. But for me, I don't know if it's just me, but this season was absolutely worse. The worst one in years for the goals we've lost. Even when you think in Europe, Shankland's goal against us at Tynecastle, there was just numerous occasions of us losing ridiculous goals. And it becomes so hard to win a game of football after that. So we're a lot of defenders that are either going back to their parent clubs or out of contract. So we've almost got a mini rebuild in that back line. If I'm looking for some encouragement, I think the signing of Romans was excellent for us. We really need the exact same sort of player in the right back position. And Fernandez looked as if he emerged as a really good player for us. I think we need that experienced person beside him to talk him through the games. Cammy talked around what Davy Weir did. Davy Weir done that brilliantly for younger and experienced players. Somebody that reads the game, knows the game, and can help Fernandez grow. And if we replace to have a good right back the way we've done with Romans at left back, bring a really experienced centre back in there. We've got the makings of a reasonably good back four, and it doesn't need to take an awful lot. It's just selecting the right players and bringing in the right players, and we're not a million miles away from it. But for me, the goalkeeper definitely needs replaced.
Can I just quickly, Andrew, just while I see Doddington and you shared Doddington's comment, that is not my burner account. Just so you know.
Yeah, you sure, Cammy? Yeah,
because I'm going to try and not say that word, but it's spot on with regard to what needs to be better. Yeah, it is not rocket science. And Danny Rule met with a lot of the ex-players, Lee McCullough, Barry Ferguson, towards the back end of the season before the wheels came off. I think he could have had a conversation with Bomber Brown. They would have told him what is needed to be... everybody that was in the training centre that day that met with Danny Rule will have told him that. So it's... Are you then going to back up what you've been told and what a lot of the supporters... That's where it's all very well talking the talk and getting, but it's what Danny Rule and what Cavenagh and what the recruitment team then do that it all comes back to. I'm repeating myself again, but if you fix the spine, I done so well there, 25 minutes. But that's how successful teams or competitive teams are built. And if you can do that, then and I think Warriors football's a different animal now with regard to the type of men and the type of players that play modern football and stuff like that. But just guys that are prepared to win at all costs. But anyway, I'll let you go on. Sorry, I just wanted to jump in there.
No.
I'm going to say, just as that phrase has come up a couple of times now, and I don't think I'm a great fan of it, leadership group. That almost makes it exclusive to those 3 or 4 players that are in that leadership group. To me, we need leaders all over the park. Successful Rangers teams of years gone by have leaders right throughout the park. So just to narrow that phrase down and say, that's my leadership group, it's 3, 4 players, it doesn't sit too well with me, if I'm honest.
Do you know what? It's very modern office kind of thing, isn't it? That kind of blue sky thinking, creative juices. You do the office bingo when you're on a Teams call. It's very, you're right. Every player needs to be a leader themselves, and they need to basically be able to change a game when they're on that park. Cammy mentioned players like Bomber Brown. I think if Bomber Brown was to meet with these players now, I think he'd go through half of them, and I think they wouldn't be in good shape after having a conversation. But it just shows you the difference between some players then and now, because obviously Morpheus there spoke about soon assigned players who could play but were prepared for war. We need those warriors. And I guess the sad reality is with modern footballers, especially footballers that kind of don't grow up in Scotland and come from this kind of culture of the old firm, you're one or the other, I think don't always quite get it. And yeah, it's one of those. We do need to change things. We 100% need to change things. And I think we are looking at some of the key areas. Shankland signing this week, I think, is one, because it's somebody that has been a no-brainer for years. Yes, there's been the odd time where we've looked at him and there's been a bit of a price tag over his head. But you have to be honest, don't you, Graeme? If you were to have maybe spent £3-4 million on a player like Shankland, he would have done a lot for us in that period, wouldn't he?
Absolutely. What I feel we're missing is, again, a lot of Rangers fans will agree, we're missing players who know what this club's all about, involved in that squad. We're missing players who know the league, know what this league's about, are not prepared, are not scared of getting roughed up. They're ready to get stuck in. I think sometimes we bring in young and experienced players, great potential, but they're not ready for what the demands are of Scottish football. So to me, with Shankland, he knows the club. He's a blue nose. He's done consistently well in the league, scoring goals. I think the younger players, and look at Jermiti Nadiri, will learn a lot from him. And we've not got enough of those types of players where they'll be great in terms of day in, day out training with that. Maybe quite similar to Defoe when he came in terms of Morelos and things. So I think it's fantastic from that perspective. as well, that we've got a real leader in that forward position that these young players with great potential and great ability can learn from and get better with working with in the training pitch day in, day out. Again, talking them through games, showing them where they should be. But, the other aspect, I had a real concern that we were going to be similar to the kind of Chelsea, the Scottish version of Chelsea, bringing in lots of young players, potential, losing a bit of our identity. And that's really what's going on down at Stamford Bridge. And the fact that maybe the owners have recognised that and addressed that, starting to bring in that type of player and leadership and character we need, to me, is really encouraging. And that's what I'm really pleased about the Shankland signing. It's the type of player, the type of mentality they get what we're all about. So, I mean, it's the biggest no-brainer you'll ever get, but it ticks so many boxes for what we need just now.
Yeah, I totally agree. And hopefully there'll be more to come through the window, as it's not even open yet. So it's one of them. It's a nice early one to get in. Somebody who has extended their contract is one that I think we all thought was going to be the case, and that was Liam Kelly. So I think it hasn't actually come officially from the club yet, Cammy. It was Fabrizio Romano that tweeted this. He was reporting Kelly was close to a new 2-year deal. Obviously, I don't think we are looking at him to be a Rangers number one. I don't think he's going to be a serious challenger for that spot. Not a bad keeper, but he's just, I don't think, at that level. Very adequate backup. Everybody needs a backup keeper, and it does help with the European homegrown quota, doesn't it, Cammy?
He ticks the boxes. I don't think there's any issue. I think we've obviously got Mason Munn, who didn't have the best loans last season, so it'll be interesting to see. I think we've got big hope for him, and I think there's another boy, Ridian Maguire, I think it is, younger goalkeeper. So there is a sort of succession of keepers with regard to that. But Liam Kelly, relatively low wage, seems happy, settled, has managed to get to the World Cup without playing a great deal of football, which that's a hell of an achievement to get yourself in a squad of 26. But don't have an issue with regard to Liam Kelly. More than happy with him as a backup. Has done okay the games that he's came in. It's who he's going to be training with every day. That's the $1 million question, but no issue at all. Fabrizio Romano, loves a tap-in. Never broke a story in his life, but he's there at the back post to stick it in the back of the net.
The Chris Boyds of the press world, doesn't it?
Listen, I hope Lord Shankland scores 35 like Fabrizio Romano at the end of next season. We'll all be happy.
Good comment here from Billy, talking about the goalkeeper situation. Piers Charles, Northern Irish goalkeeper. There's a lot of clubs interested, I do believe, at the minute. We've all seen the clips of him. Very good with his feet. He's very good with an assist as well, which is pretty impressive for a goalkeeper. Obviously, Man City, I think, we're interested. Yeah, Juicy Bear here saying that. So if that is going to happen, it probably is going to go to City, and you can kind of understand it. Currently wants to stay in England allegedly at this stage. So obviously let's talk about some links, and before we get into the links, guys at home, please like and subscribe to the Rangers Journal. Turn your notifications on and you'll be notified anytime the Rangers Journal goes live. We are still continuing with the pods over the summer. We've had a good few pods this week, and we had a really good pod just the other day in regards to Dan Neil, one of the people that is heavily linked with Rangers at the minute. There's quite a few players linked with Rangers, but obviously it is that kind of time of year where lots of people are linked. But if anybody does sign, we'll generally try and go live, and we'll try and get you the information as soon as we can. So please like and subscribe to the Rangers Journal, turn your notifications on, and do follow us on Twitter and everywhere else. So in regards to my computer has just froze, which is always very good. This doesn't normally happen on Macs, but there we go. Actually, there was a comment that just came in from Doug himself, because Doug likes to chuck a grenade into the works. So Graeme, is there a danger of too many cooks if everyone is trying to lead? Is a strong core not better to ensure we're all moving in the same direction? Doug, I bet you use the management speak in them teams calls, don't you, mate? But there we go. Graeme, I'll give that one to you, mate. What do you reckon?
Doug's written the management book, I think, for these things. No, it's not worked well for us so far, is it? Just having that limited select group for that leadership group. Let's say I genuinely believe that the great Rangers team of years gone by have had leaders all over the park. They've not been singled out. And they don't even need to be vocal. It's about how they apply themselves. It's their attitude. It's their work rate. It's their commitment. It's how they lift the players around them and drag them up when they're not playing well. It's not about a competition. The competition is we are in competition with everybody else. So I don't agree with the comment. I think the more leaders and characters and warriors we've got out in that park, then the better. And let's say the current as is with that small leadership group hasn't quite worked for us. So no, the more characters, the more leaders, the more people that get what this club's all about that we can bring into the football club. And if they're led right with the manager, then we drive forward in that sense of the word.
I've just got a quick one on that one. It's standard setters. It's players that are going to drive standards every single day. That's end of. You know, it's the same as any workplace. You all work with people that are, you know, that sort of person. So I think it's about standards, and they've spoke about the culture, changing the standards. I mean, who is the standard setter? Who has been the standard setter within? From the outside looking in, James Tavernier, to me, looks as though he has been the main influence within, all the way back to Gerrard. He's been the standard setter. But you now have an opportunity that James Tavernier has left for a new dawn to break, and new standards. Standards should be there. You should have your own individual standards, but not everybody applies to that. So I just don't want to hear Danny Rule talking about my new leadership group is Pierce Charles, Fernandez, da. I just don't want. I don't want that to be public knowledge, because if we see a Rangers team on the park that's acting like a Rangers team, then we'll know. We don't need to be told. And that's why I always go back to, again, actions will speak louder than words. Buzz phrase, LinkedIn, gobbledygook, PR sort of stuff. It's, sorry, I told you I've no spoke for a few weeks, Andrew, so this was always going to happen.
Get it off your chest. I don't blame you. I don't blame you, mate. So let's talk about some links. Obviously, we're talking about leadership there, Graeme. Obviously, Dan Neil rumours have been circulating. There was a great pod earlier in the week. Ryan hosted Rangers Rumours and had an interview with Gav from Hawaii, the podcast, a Sunderland podcast, very big Sunderland podcast. He went into Dan Neil, said that he sits as a kind of number 6. Sits just in front of the defence as like an anchor man between the defence and midfield, capable of defence splitting passes, but can be caught on the ball a few times, has been known for that a little bit, which I think a lot of players that do tend to drive forward, their stats are a bit lower because of what they're trying to do. Would Dan Neil kind of suit that kind of, leader on the park for Rangers? From
certainly what I've read and even interviewed the other night, he probably would. Is it somebody that I'm getting excited about the way I've got excited about Shankland signing? Probably not. I think there's also a bit of a nervousness about when we recruit from that sort of championship league in terms of can they transfer what they've done in the championship, and generally they've done it fairly well up in Scotland, and to me that's the biggest risk that we will have. But, I think we're looking, we need a number 6. We absolutely do. I think Cammy said that earlier on. That's a must. If we're going to have a successful season, we need that number 6 in there. So we tick some of these boxes, but I think I'm slightly nervous and I'm probably not excited about that signing. That's definitely a position we need to fill. But we've not got a great record of taking people for the championship and bringing them in the team and looking for them to really kick on and deliver what they've done in the championship. The fact that he maybe gets caught in the ball quite frequently obviously stands out as well, because you're going to give him less time up here on the ball. So again, changing from that culture and that environment of playing football down south at those levels and coming up and doing it in the Scottish League is going to be the slight worry. But it's not one I'm overly excited about, if I'm honest.
That's the thing, isn't it, Cammy? We've had, I guess we've been burnt so many times before. We've always went for some very good championship players. Obviously, I know Joey Barton's in a completely different world and we were in a different time, but he was the player of the season at QPR, wasn't he? And then, of course, you look at Rodwell from last season, one of the players of the year down there. And then, of course, you do look at players like John Lundstrom as well. Very good. But they just never seem to translate too well to Scottish football. I don't know if it's just the physicality of the game or if it's a psychological thing where they think, oh, this will be easier. You know, we saw that podcast in the week. I can't remember now. Was it? They're talking about Aberdeen and they're just laughing basically, going to Scotland, Aberdeen. It'll come to me in a minute. But you look at the way that Scottish football is viewed, and it's not viewed very well, is it? And I don't know if players just look at Scottish football as it will be easier and then maybe let their guard down a little bit and don't seem to perform up here. What do you think the reason behind that is, Cammy? Why do some of the best players in the English Championship, which is a decent league, can't do it up here in Scotland?
I think it's probably a combination of factors. You're probably signing good players, but these are guys that are coming from the English Championship where there isn't an expectation to win every game. English Championship, you play 46 games a season. It's relentless, and they're quite. You go away from home to Portsmouth or whatever, and you're quite happy with a point. So it's about getting the people that have a winning mentality, even though they've been playing within. And that's very, very difficult. Daniel's a guy that has only been taken out of the Sunderland team probably because of the success of Granit Xhaka. So he had been the captain at Sunderland, etc. But I think the sort of nervousness around me, Graeme, and probably the wider support is scar tissue. We've been burned too many times. I think they're talking about him coming in for a nominal fee. He would be coming up on good wages. And again, I just think it's scar tissue. Your Kieran Dills and Looney and guys like that. It's just so many of them haven't worked in the past. I saw one of the comments being pro Elliot Watt, and I've seen one of the comments being Elliot Watt has had a fantastic season for Motherwell, but there's no guarantee that he then steps into the Rangers number 6 position. I would be wanting better than Elliot Watt and Dan Neil, but we have to be mindful of what we're trying to, what you're trying to attract to the Scottish game. But I'll go back to what I said very early on. If you've got the right recruitment and you've got the right player identification, you look at Hearts pulled Claudio Braga from like the Hungarian 3rd division or something. I mean, it wasn't, but it was something like that. This is a guy that had not been heard of. Why can't we find somebody that's playing in a league that hasn't been picked up but is able to come into the situation? But at the number 6 position, all the way back to Stephen Davis, we've never had a specialist number 6 forever, and that for me. There's talk about identity and style of play, and your number 6 is pivotal to that. And if you could get a Granit Xhaka type, it would allow the other players round about him to flourish, because the players would see this guy and go, my God, we're all right. He's playing next to me. I'll just give the ball to him. Like back in the day when you used to give the ball to Gaza or Loudrop or whoever, by signing the right 2 or 3 players that have just got that presence on the pitch and on their teammates. But it's just about trying to get a lot of names in the comments. There's a lot of Football Manager getting played on in the comments. I don't envy the role of the recruitment team, but it's vitally important that you actually play somebody that is a specialist in that position. We tried to turn John Lundstrom into a number 6 when he played as a number 8. Nico may think he's a number 6, but isn't a number 6. Connor Barden's probably the best suited that we have within the staff at the moment. But we need better than Connor Barden to be a title-winning Rangers team. So yeah, it is the key position for me as that sitting midfielder.
Yeah, no, do you know what? I do agree, and actually, we always generally get a little bit of balanced opinion from Cassie, and she says bit of a false narrative for Championship players. Few didn't work. Our hit rate from the Dutch French league is just as bad, if not worse. That might very well be the case. I think it's probably because we've had a few players in quick succession over recent years that have been deemed like the best players in the Championship that just have struggled here, but that's the thing. It might not necessarily always be them. It might be just what's going on at the club at the time. We see so many times where players do leave here and actually perform fairly okay elsewhere. Not all the time, but it does happen. So, you know, that could be part of it. So obviously Dan Neil, just Cammy, I'll just get your opinion on Dan Neil quickly. Do you think Dan Neil will be a good addition as a free transfer?
For a free transfer, yeah, but the sort of not the negativity, but the concerns are around. He's not played a lot of football across the last 12 months, but we'll just have to wait and see. I did expect him to play more at Ipswich when he went there in the January window when we tried to sign him. For whatever reason, he didn't. But I'm hoping that there's names being discussed at the Rangers training centre that haven't reached the public domain. I dream of the Lawrence Shankland situation where the first you hear of it is the Saturday night, and by the Monday it's a done deal. But yeah, if it happens, but I do think we'll see a bit of turnover in the middle of the park. I expect Chikwani to stay, but I think you'll lose two of Raskin Barron or who was the one I missed there? Raskin, Barron or Diomande. Yeah. I think two of those three will go. So I think you could see a Dan Neil, you could see an Elliot Watt, you could see somebody else. There's going to be a huge turnover of staff. And I think it is needed because some of these players, Nico Raskin's been a Rangers player for 3 seasons and has never won a winner's medal. So, you know, that's, and I'm not saying it's all on Nico Raskin, but to go back to what I was talking about earlier with regard to gutting people that have been part of the dressing room, I think guys that have been habitually second place, and we've just got rid of James Tavernier, who that's been thrown at Tav. But there's other players that have been there for the last 3-4 seasons and have not proven successful. So you just need to gut it out and get rid of that. But Dan Neil, we'll just have to wait and see. I'm sure he'll have plenty of options down south.
Oh yeah, I think so. Been through the Sunderland ranks. He was born in South Shield, so obviously that big Sunderland kind of supporting area. If you didn't support Sunderland, you supported Newcastle. I think it's a big step to kind of lose to leave the club that you do love. So that'll be an interesting one, but he might have to do it for his career. Good comment in here from Scando V6N. Bassey, Aribo, O'Reilly have all worked up here. The thing is, they were players that weren't really deemed as, you know, the best players in the Championship at the time. I think Calvin Bassey did have some attributes. Nobody really batted an eyelid when we signed him. We all remember his main first game against St Mirren where he was getting ragdolled by, was it Connolly at the time? And we thought, we don't think there's a Rangers player in there. And then obviously he's one of the best players at Fulham now. He's an absolutely fantastic footballer. O'Reilly obviously plucked from MK Dons. Again, kind of okay there. And Aribo, I think there was obviously potential talent spotted, but again, they weren't tried and trusted players really at that point. But yeah, no, you can get gems from down there. There's a lot of good footballers down there. But it just always seems anytime we go for like the player that you really want from there, it just feels like it's never worked. But of course, Cassie has corrected us a wee bit on that one.
Can I just see Scando's comment there? I thought he was starting off a new song there where he was like talking about I was a bit of Tavernier Hadji came a rooting back. see if I want to see anything for the 26-27 season, is that song to be reintroduced with new players, because it's the best song we've had in recent seasons. I would bring it back even with the players that have all left, to be honest with you. Great song.
Well, we've got a good song for Shankland coming up, haven't we? It looks like that looks like that's already agreed, I guess. Graeme, I'll just come to you a little bit, mate. Obviously, we've got some links with other players. Some of this stuff tends to be just press, kind of like just trying to generate stories at a quiet time of year. Obviously, Josh Windass, there are return links with Windass, of course, at Wrexham. Allegedly, Danny Rule does like him. I don't know how true that is or not, but obviously Wrexham's kind of boosted his profile quite significantly. It's got energy, versatility. Is it been, I don't want to say sentimental, because he was kind of okay in the time that he was here, but we were a very bad team at that time. Do you think he could come back and be an improved player and actually help us, or do you think going back to the past with players like this, it's probably not a great idea?
I think if we cover something we talked about earlier, attitude, standards, that sort of marker of what we want out the pitch, certainly the Windass that was here before, that's not somebody I think that this club needs at this point. And listen, the lad might have changed, he might have rolled up his sleeves, he might be a different character, but that whole bringing people in with standards, bring people in who drag people up to the right level we need them to be, I'm not sure he fits that bill. I think he was a talented boy. I questioned his attitude at times when he was here the last time. That probably still sticks in my mind for some of the brilliance he did while on the ball. It wasn't in big games. It wasn't when it really mattered. And I think there's maybe just a bit of speculation linking Roll and Windass from their time before and putting that together and going, well, that's a certainty. But it doesn't really fit what I think we need in this transfer window. Now, the powers that be at Rangers might think different. Danny Rowe might think different. But there's also, we want to be excited about players that we bring in. And I think that excitement we got through Shankland, I think we need another 4 or 5 players who we are excited about. And for me, Windass doesn't tick that box, unfortunately. Yeah,
no, I do agree. Richard, he's a lucky man. He's out in Florida at the minute. We're not jealous at all, mate. We're not jealous at all in any way, shape or form. Actually, it might actually be probably a little bit cooler here, maybe. But I hope you're enjoying Florida, Richard. Send us a postcard, will you, big man? Right, one more I'll go into because we're getting towards the end of the pod. We still have loads to speak about, but we didn't actually get through it. It's been a really good pod this evening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, everybody, to the Rangers Journal and of course the Ibrox Channel. One, Cammy, I'm going to ask you about now. Mikey Moore. Now, obviously, Mikey Moore had a fairly decent season with us. Of course, after Russell Martin departed because he made him look like a competition winner playing for us under his tenure. But Mikey Moore, he's a very, very good footballer. You can see the quality and talent he's got. Of course, Spurs are staying up. Would you think we could get him back on loan? Do you think that could be in the pipeline?
He's still a young guy. He's got plenty of time to play at Spurs. It'll depend the conversations that happen between him and his agent and De Zerbi. I don't think he's going to go down to Spurs and be a starting player in the number 10 position or playing off the left. But I do think he would probably get maybe 15, 20 games across the season. It really just depends how Spurs see his development. If they think that he's achieved what they wanted at Rangers, does he go on loan to, I'll just pull Millwall off the top of my head, a team that's challenging in the top half of the Championship, and they may look at that and say that's a better standard than playing in Scotland. I would say, well, the mentality that he needs to, and the mentality that he showed last season after a really difficult start, he was one of the players that actually showed leadership and standards and tried to drive forward and everything he said at the back end of the season. So he's got a lot up here. He's a very sensible, but I don't think you just don't. De Zerbi said that he would keep 11 of this Spurs squad. I'm assuming that's 11 players that are currently there at the moment. I mean, I don't know how he managed to get 11 out of that Spurs team, right enough. But Mikey Moore will go back to Spurs pre-season. I think it's one that we'll have to be patient on. I don't think you would see any movement. Rangers start back training on, I think, the 19th of June. Mikey Moore will go back to Spurs, and you'll be out well into July, maybe even August, before his next destination, if anywhere. I mean, they'll probably have a tour to Singapore and all these places as they normally do pre-season. So I'd imagine that the manager will want to have a look at him, see how he does, and before they decide with regard to that. But Mikey Moore had a good season. There is part of me thinks Finlay Curtis coming back, he's our player. You know, I'm not saying that I would potentially, I would probably rather give Finlay Curtis the opportunity on that left-hand side and develop our own player than bring Mikey Moore back. I know he will very much be in the minority, and that's not to decry what Mikey Moore did, but I'd rather develop Finlay Curtis to be a starting Rangers player on that left-hand side.
Do you know what? We do need to use Curtis, because you can see what he did in that Kilmarnock team. Now, you can understand if he went to a team like, let's say, Hearts, where they're it's a bit more free-flowing football, more creativity, and if he was scoring goals there, great. But you can see he's at a team that was struggling, and he was doing really well there, where you kind of got to do a lot yourself. So I can see what you're talking about. You make a good point there about a team like Millwall. That'd be an ideal place for Moore, because especially when they've now got the derby again with West Ham, it's great experience. Obviously, Spurs are going to go through an upheaval this summer. They probably will spend a lot of money. But Graeme, could you see Mikey Moore coming back? I'll give you the last word on this. And if you can, would you rather take, at this minute, Curtis over Moore, just because we do need to start playing him?
I would love to see Moore back. I think if we had a few more of the Moors in that team last season, with the attitude, never mind the talent, the attitude, those standards that he set, we wouldn't have been in the position we were in. Really liked him, and I think he got us. He understood what the club was about. You could see him, his effort. He was trying. It always felt as if one of the games, if we're looking for something to happen, 9 times out of 10, you felt it was going to be through Mikey Moore. But I would love to see him back. I don't think he will. And Cammy talked to Millwall. I think he could end up, Coventry, team that's promoted. I wouldn't be surprised if teams like that are looking about him, because he's got the ability, he's got the talent, he's got the attitude, he's got the self-confidence in terms around what he wants to do. I don't see it. I don't see him come back, if I'm honest, which then leads us down to, that gives us Gassama and Curtis in terms of that sort of left-hand side position. I'd love to see Curtis given a chance. I was gutted when he went out on loan. I'd rather send Ant-Man out on loan in January. I thought even that last European game, he just didn't look out of place. And I appreciate we were already out of the competition by that point, but by God, he was a glimmer of hope. He looked sharp. And I really felt he could have added something to that Rangers team. And we really struggled in those wide areas in the running, apart from Moore. It was almost a lottery. Who's going to be on the other side? Who's going to play? Whose turn is it this week? We didn't get that position nailed down in that right-hand side. And Moore might have been able to contribute a bit more than the rest did in that running. So I think Moore's got to be given a chance. I think credit to Neil McCann in terms of the job he's done with developing them and bringing them on. I always felt at the time when Noel came in, we could have done with a Rangers man around that coaching and background team. I could listen to Neil McCann all day talk about football, and I think he's done a really good job at Killie. It'd have been great if he was part of that coaching setup when Noel came in. And again, he knows the club, knows what it's all about. He's won things. I think he'd have helped a lot of those players in that environment just now.
You know what? I agree about McCann. I loved hearing him talk during 55. He was explaining and breaking down things very well for you to easily understand. And he was talking about the organised chaos of the way that Rangers attacked and the way that we would swap Kent on the wings and stuff. He was just fantastic. And I do agree. I actually do agree there 100%. Right, guys, that is just about us. We've gone over a little bit because it's been good conversation tonight. Thank you, everyone, for your comments, especially this one. Curtis will be a £25 million player once he bangs in a hat-trick against Brazil, and we'll forget about Magic Mike. There we go. That's happening now. It's on the cards. But then it is Steve Clark, so he'll probably get about 2 minutes in the last game when we're already out. So it's probably going to be that. That's probably going to be the case. But thank you to everyone. Graeme, thank you. Sorry, Cabby, we just lost you there, mate.
Aye, sorry, that boy that was talking about 25 million for Finlay Curtis, he is obviously taking a half day. He's obviously been sitting in a beer garden somewhere, and he's had a few pints in the last few years. No, seriously, Finlay Curtis has done fantastic on loan, and it's somewhere to just quickly, Neil McCann, I would certainly trust him with any of the other young talent that we've got that's coming through, because I think he's your Aidan McCallions and guys like that. I think that he's probably one that's a bit further on than Kyle Glasgow and Ashton Scally and guys like that. But I do think that he done a great job. But aye, that's my lot.
Heat stroke and 6 points in the beer garden when it's like 22, 25. Yeah, it's understandable. But Cammy, thank you ever so much for going on, mate. It's always good to chat with you as well.
Always a pleasure.
And don't forget, every night is a Rangers Journal night. We've got lots of content coming over the summer. Just because Rangers aren't playing doesn't mean we aren't going to be podding. And of course, the Ibrox Channel is back, and we're hoping for it to be a once-a-week pod here on the Rangers Journal network. You can find us on Twitter at the Ibrox Channel, where I will have random ramblings on there. And of course, don't forget to follow the Rangers Journal everywhere as well. Every night is a Rangers Journal night. And thank you to our sponsor, the Bluebells Bar in Puerto del Carmen, Lanzarote. Take care, everyone.